George W. Bush has come out in support of the protesters.
Wow.
Okay, George W. Bush.
Oh, wow.
And so protesting, absolutely okay. Looting, of course. Lock up looters. I mean, that is a something that you cannot allow to happen because, as is regularly reported, the communities that are being the most torn apart are the very communities that the black African Americans live in. So this is something that you absolutely have to have a consistent view on. The protests are fine, the peaceful protests, but equally, I haven't yet heard you talk about one of the most disgraceful acts I've ever seen in my 35 years in active politics, is sending the military into a peaceful gathering in a park to clear the way so I could do a photo opportunity, Paul. That is equally as disgraceful an act as I've ever seen.
Right.
Turning the military, sending them out to clear a path so you can do a stunt.
James Morrow, engage directly.
I'm sorry, but, this idea that was just a photo op there was ridiculous. You had the same people who were 6 hours before he did that saying, oh, Trump is stuck in the White House, he's stuck in his bunker, then criticizing him for going out. You read the accounts of what happened, you realize, Stephen,
on both fronts.
So he's cowardly if he stays home. He's cowardly if he goes out.
Yeah,
60 Secret Service agents were injured.
Correct.
60 Secret
James have a
Service
crack.
agents were injured in fights with these people in the very same park. And the reason why the military went through was because they were throwing projectiles and rocks. That's not me saying that. That's the Washington Post saying that. You can look it up. To say that this was just some sort of photo op is ridiculous. You have a country under siege. The proper role of the president is to go out, to make himself be known, and to show that he is not being cowed by lawless protesters.
What a small man coward. He gets the Joint Chief of Staff to turn up in his camouflage gear to march with him. What a pathetic little man Donald Trump
could do to make you
what a
agree with
pathetic little man Donald Trump.
Corey, get in on this, mate. Corey, get in on this. You've been patient.
Paul, I'm going to distill this down to one phrase. This is Earth Hour for racists. These people do not give a hoot about black lives. If they did, they'd be talking about Aboriginal lives. They only care about some lives. They don't care about Rohingyas. They don't care about Muslim women who are being oppressed. They don't care about unborn children. What they care about is upending authority, making Trump the guilty person, and trying to diminish the role of law enforcement in the country. Now, Stephen Conroy, normally reasonably sensible, says, oh, lock up the looters. Well, that would inflame 90% of the protesters because these people are all black. You might not have noticed that, Stephen, but they are. In all of the video footage
you need to watch a bit more of Fox News because those images are not. During the day, those images are not.
And then who is responsible? Hang on a second. Who is responsible, Stephen, for the states where there is the least governance? Generally, it is Democratic governors who are failing to uphold law and order. And little wonder the military has to go in there. New York City is a case in point.
Look, exactly. From the governor to the mayor, all Democrats,
all of them. And you're trying to blame other people, Donald Trump, for this. What about
Stephen.
Obama? Obama was one of the most racially divisive presidents in America. He mobilised the black community against the police force by claiming that there were victims when the victims were actually the perpetrators in the first place and the police were protecting themselves. This is the appalling reporting. The appalling footage that is repeated verbatim by the ABC. I saw the political reporter on Channel 7 coming out with the same lines you have. They are partisan cheerleaders for this. They are not interested in the news because if you dig behind the news, you'll get to the truth of the matter that blacks are killing blacks in America. They're attacking police officers, and police officers in the main are defending themselves and been criticised for it.
Yep.
It is appalling.
Now, I want to move the conversation.
45 of defending himself.
Right,
8 minutes 45 of defending himself. That was very clear.
Yeah,
But don't worry, Cory, that was just a bit of the video. You don't have to believe what you saw there, Cory, because that's just a misrepresentation.
Yeah, and Stephen, what you forget is that...
Well, hang on, whoa. Nobody...
is that people have crystal meth, fentanyl in their system. They're on drugs. You don't know what they're going to do next.
Yeah, well, look, I made it clear, and we've had plenty of conversation here, right, that the officer involved, in my view, 100% guilty of murder. Whether it's first degree and whether that's provable or not, we'll see. All the other officers, we'll see what happens in the next little while in terms of whether they get charged or not. But James Morrow, the 1619 project. Now, this is something you've talked about on Outsiders, but again, I want to talk about with people who are watching us right here. Essentially, it is a academic rewriting of American history. They would say the correct telling of American history, that slavery was always part of the nation, fundamental to the nation, fundamental to the building of the nation. And the author of that project, which is not just being featured in the New York Times, but now being taught in schools, said this on television this week. Unbelievable. Remember? Think about this like Safe Schools. This is the author of it. It's being taught in schools. Have a look.
I would not describe looting as violence. Looting is property damage, but it is not violence. It allows them to take hold of consumer goods with the ease that a white man does by using his purse. Often the Negro does not even want what he takes. He wants the experience of taking. Negroes have committed crimes, but they are the derivative crimes, and they are born of the greater crimes of the white society.
It's your country, James. What the hell is that about?
Can you imagine anything more racist than saying the only way a black person can get consumer goods is to go and loot and steal them? That's about the most offensive thing I have ever heard. I mean, this idea that, we've been told that words are violence and police violence, okay, but then going in and trashing a store, trashing a shop in a minority neighborhood, particularly, stealing their goods, beating up the owner who tries to defend the store, which has happened all over the country disgracefully, that somehow is not violence. That is a real disgrace. It is such a worry that this woman has been in charge of this project that's going to be teaching kids this warped, distorted view of American history. It's absolutely appalling. And again, it is about the most racist thing I can imagine, this bigotry of low expectations that somehow this is the only way that black people can go to the shops as if they loot them. It's unbelievable.